Tack så mycket. Now we're going to do a transition, as Sebastian said, from not only from Windows 11 but to Windows 2022, but also from Swedish to English, as you can hear. My name is Lars Hegnelt, and I am the Nordic Incubation PSE, and I am going to present like Windows 2022 to you now. So let's see. Am I in control of this?
Yes, so you just swap slides and I'll swap.
So it doesn't. What do you?
I was laid down. Okay, so you have to find it.
Do I have to?
Yeah, exactly. Find it at that one, and then yes.
Yes. Let's see. What, yeah. So being conscious of time and trying to move forward, I just want to start by giving you some overview on what we want to do at Microsoft going forward. We're of course talking about transforming our business, transformation. You hear those buzzwords all the time, talking about modernization. So with Windows 2022, we want to modernize the infrastructure for our SMB customers. So we're talking moving. We've heard that a lot, of course, moving from our private cloud to the public cloud. But as we can see now, things are not moving the way in that sense that we have seen before, that we thought would happen, as fast as we thought it would happen. So that being said, Microsoft with Windows 2022 wants to be your preferred partner in driving the hybrid environment, the hybrid cloud solution. So that means that we come from Microsoft, we come from an on-premise like base. That's where we work from. We have other competitors that come from a public cloud and tries to build a private cloud from there, but we actually come from an on-premise solution, on-premise infrastructure, and we want to move from there. We want to be our customers' preferred partner in driving the transformation towards hybrid cloud. As you can see here, we of course are still basically focused with Windows 22 on-premise solutions, with a clear focus on also enabling our customers to drive the public cloud with Azure solutions, building on Azure Arc and giving you all the Azure solutions with Azure Backup, Azure Site Recovery, Azure Monitor. We're going to come back to that later on. So basically building that hybrid solution together with you. So we're like looking at some of the key numbers we see here. Of course, most customers are talking about hybrid cloud solutions. Most customers are talking about public cloud solutions, but we do still see that almost half of our customers are planning to increase their private cloud. And why do they want to do that? That is about much of what we talked about in the previous presentation with Sebastian, where he highlighted all the security issues that we have. So we basically want to make sure that we are secure not only in our infrastructure, in our data centers with all the critical data that we have, but also very much enabling our employees, all our employees working not only from the company offices, but like in this new era, very much also remote working. So we want to make sure that is safe. Privacy concerns, we're talking compliance as well. It's a very big thing now, compliance, and we know we're going to see in the next slide a little bit about how compliance figures into SMB's modernization of their infrastructure. And of course, it's also about control of resources. So we're talking about the footprint, like carbon footprint and all the energy footprints that we need to basically, much in the Nordics, almost every Nordic country have a policy that makes it like a law for our customers to basically be able to what's it called in English, to highlight what they are doing in regards to their footprint, in regards to carbon and energy usage, right? And of course, it's also about speed and flexibility, being online, etc., etc. Okay, so if we look at a little bit about why we need to upgrade, so I think I still have a slide later on that looks into what kind of server solutions we have now and what is outdated and what is no longer supported by Microsoft. So we see that more than half of our SMB customers have experienced data breaches over the last 5 years, and like almost a third of them have to go out of business once they experience these data breaches. We talked about compliance before, and we're talking about GDPR rules. We also talk about payment card industry, and actually you can see from this slide that only 11% of our SMB customers are actually compliant in regards to payment card industry rules, regulations. And again, a third of all these cyber attacks are like focused towards our SMB segment. So it's not only a big corporation issue with these cyber attacks. Okay, but why is it then that our customers are not migrating to the latest version? Well, of course, it's a lot of things, and we know that. It's complexity in it. It's downtime worries. It's also a matter of having resources and having the sufficient amount of technical knowledge to be able to modernize the current infrastructure that they have. But it is something that we need to do, and we need to do it now, because looking at the legacy operating system from Microsoft, you can see that most of them, like some of them, are already end of support. Windows Server 28 was end of support back in 2021, for instance, in January, and Windows Server 2012 will be end of support in a year's time. So now is the time to start modernizing and transforming your current infrastructure. You can see Microsoft is building on the long-term service plans in regards to the support. So we have a 5-year mainstream support, and then we have a 5-year extended support. That means that we have a 10-year support on our operating systems. So that is going to be, so that is like a semi-yearly updates, and it's going to be rolled out to our Windows Server operating systems. If our customers opt in on Azure solutions, and this is where we're basically moving when we're talking about transformation, is of course to moving towards an Azure solution with Azure Stack HCI, etc. Then we're going to have a monthly security and quality update, as you can see from this slide, and also like new features, etc., etc. This also requires you to be online on at least a 30-day minimum, whereas the Windows Server on-prem solution does not require that. You can run that entirely disconnected from everything. Some of the implications of outdated hardware software is, of course, that our customers expose themselves to a significant security risk. It's about being able to run apps that are applications that are secure. Most of our customers also like not modernizing their infrastructure because they're running legacy apps, which of course makes it difficult to move towards a newer operating systems. And of course, one of the things as well is that they are missing out on some key new features for a modern data center solution. Like we're talking software-defined storage, we're talking software-defined networking, so hypercurrent infrastructure solutions as a total. And of course, the hybrid integration. So we have that now with Windows Server 2022 building on legacy OS as well, but now with hybrid solution being the main thing for Microsoft going forth. So a little bit about why do customers choose to run a server. So it's again about protecting data and reducing storage costs. It's about the management. Now we have a simple management tool that bridges the gap between on-premise and cloud and public cloud solution with our Windows Admin Center. So you can run Windows Server 2022 from an on-premise solution, from an disconnected solution, but you can also run it from Azure with the Azure portal and with Azure connectivity and capabilities, and logging into all the Azure services that we provide you from. And again, we'll touch base on some of the other things before maintaining a clear overview and controlling your energy and carbon footprints. Quickly touching base on our multi-layered security. We talk about secure core server. Sebastian in a very good way described earlier about some of the security features we have in Windows 11, which is also some of what we have in our Windows Server 22.2 with Trusted Platform Module 2.0, with Trusted Boot, Secure Boot again. But it's also about advanced protection. It's about in-depth protection. It's about Windows Defender System Guard and virtualization-based security. And yeah, again, so it's about bridging the gap between, again, our data center, our infrastructure security, as well as our employee security, remote workers, etc. So we have the same building on the same types of security system setups that we have from Windows 11. So there. So it's basically building on three key pillars when talking secure core server. So simplified security, advanced protection, and preventive defense, right? So, and those are like including features such as hardware root of trust, secure boot, system guard, etc., etc. And this is so essential for our SMB customers in protecting their critical database and critical data mass, right? Talking previous about Azure capabilities with Windows Server 2022. So again, Windows Server 2022 enables our customers to bridge the gap between an on-prem solution and our public cloud solutions, right? So Windows Server 2022, we through Azure Arc, we are able to tap into all our features from the Azure portal. We're talking about Azure Site Recovery, that protecting the Hyper-V virtual machines, Azure Backup, where you can back up your Windows Server to the cloud, and again, extending sync file servers with Azure File Sync, and managing, as we talked about, the management tool, which is the same from our on-prem solutions in Windows Server 2022 as the Azure portal with Windows Admin Center. And there you have Azure Monitor, where you can monitor all both your on-prem and virtual machines and get alerts in that. And again, improving the security posture with Security Center. So I'm gonna jump straight to remote desktop services. So again, one of the key pillars right now, especially in this pandemic times, is for our employees to be able to work remotely. So we're talking VPN solutions, we're talking VDI solutions, and we're talking, of course, remote desktop services. So building that gap between working at the office on-prem and working from home, and making sure that our solutions are secure and future-proof. Sebastian talked about how often, and Sebastian, correct me if I said this right, was it like a fourth of employees that actually like pressed on these spam mails and actually endangered the critical data from our infrastructure, our database, right? So very, very important that we have the best possible security solution for our remote workers. So talking about Azure Port, we're talking about the public cloud, then why should you still choose an OEM server? At this point, I was actually going to like invite Anders Stenmer, but I think Anders, you already basically addressed everyone, and everyone saw what Anders had to. So Anders is part of a team, of course. So let's look at why customers still choose an on-premise service, and of course, it's about making sure that you have control over all your critical data. You don't want to share it, and this is also why we pinpoint constantly that with half of our SMB customers still running legacy operating systems that are no longer supported, it is really now, not later, that we upgrade to the latest Windows Server operating system. And doing this on an on-premise server ensures that you get a grip of that carbon energy footprint. You have a grip on compliance. You follow all the compliance, and you also have a very priced and performance solution that can compete with anything in the market. And you also like control your expenses. So just tapping into difference between, we have different Microsoft licenses that we can choose from when we're choosing Windows Server 2022. So we have an OEM, which is the original equipment manufacturer, which basically talking about licensing from our hardware manufacturers. So we're talking about, like saw earlier, Anders like mentioned, with like Fujitsu, Lenovo, HPE, and Dell. So basically what happens is that we have those different type of solutions, but the OEM or the ROC solution is a pre-installed software that is delivered by our OEMs, our hardware manufacturers, right? Then we also have the CSP channel. Basically, it's called now that, including volume licensing, enterprise licensing, and the open value program. And the reason for choosing one version over another, using one channel to purchase from over another, I'm just going to highlight quickly here, because with the ROC license, with the OEM licenses, what the customer is getting is a pre-installed, a pre-tested, and an optimized solution for their hardware configuration. So it's not only the cheapest solution in the market when purchasing a Microsoft Windows Server 2022. It's also the easiest to deploy, fewest steps to deployment. It's also by far the fastest way of deploying a Windows Server. And again, so price point, optimization, and pre-tested solution, and most important to most customers is actually the support program. So basically, when purchasing an OEM or ROC license, the end customer has one point of contact. This is key pillar, because when we talk Microsoft and we talk about customer experience, we talk about the what we hear from our end customers is that it's always about deployment, it's always about implementation. Every question is basically surrounding that. So optimizing this and working together with our great host today of Tech Data in deployment and implementation of these makes it so much easier and makes it so much secure for our end customers. So it's not only a price point issue, it's also a matter of implementation and support very much. This is the reason why. And quickly debunking some of the OEM myths, because we hear a lot of things about OEM licensing, ROC licensing versus the CSP program or the volume licensing program we used to have. So we're talking about virtualization, talking OEM licenses doesn't work with virtualization, but that is not true. OEM servers have all the same features as other Microsoft licenses, and including virtualization support and the whole virtualization the platform. And virtual machines are not tied to the hardware. OEM ROC licenses are, but the virtual machines can be moved and they're not tied to the hardware. Of course, the license live and die with the hardware. Yes, it does, but you can with standard move the license and every 90 days, and with a data center reassignment rights, with reassignment, you can also move the license. So there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of options to actually make sure that you are not, like, your operating system doesn't fail with the hardware. And you can downgrade to the last two versions. You can always downgrade to the last two versions. Actually, you can always downgrade to the Microsoft supported versions. So in this case, also back to 2012, yeah. And of course, you can add software assurance to all OEM and ROC licenses as well. Let me quickly just highlight new Windows Server 2022 editions. So we still have the same editions as we've always had. And looking at them, we have the basic Windows Server edition, which is the Essential Edition. The Essential Edition is a license that is based on a number of users and a limitation on numbers of users and devices. 25 users, 50 devices. It says here that CALs are included. They are not. However, CALs are not required for an essential license. We have shifted it to previously be a CPU license to now being a 10-core license. And it must be root of domain. The other two licenses are standard and data center editions. Both of them have unlimited amount of users and devices to be attached to this infrastructure. However, they are based on client access license. So every user, every device needs a client access license. In case you have remote workers on remote desktop access or on the remote desktop service, they also need, in addition to the user device CAL, a remote desktop client access license. Differences between standard and data center. Why do you choose one over the other? Well, of course, first of all, easy to overview is like the virtualization platform, where you have two virtual machines for standard edition and you have unlimited virtual machines with the data center edition. Another very important part here is hyperconverged infrastructure. So with the data center edition, you get hyperconverged infrastructure, you get software-defined storage, software-defined networking, software-defined compute, and this is very essential when we talk about the opportunities out there at the moment. We see that a lot of customers are converting legacy storage solutions into hyperconverged infrastructure. Actually, 80% of all storage offerings right now include an offer of hyperconverged infrastructure. So this is very, very up to date right now. It's also why Microsoft offer two types of hyperconverged infrastructure. We have, as we see here, the data center edition with the Windows Server 22, and on-prem enable hyperconverged infrastructure that runs on-prem with Azure capabilities. But we also, of course, have Azure Stack HCI as a solution running with subscription model from the Azure portal. Okay, and I think that basically ends my my presentation here. We had to cut it down a bit in consciousness of time, but yeah. Thank you for having me, and thank you for
thank you, and thank you, Lars, and of course thank you to all of you who participated. And we are aware, at least now we are aware, that we had some issues. I know that your sound was crisp, but I know that there was some issues with sound as well. With that being said, we'll make sure to have some kind of solution set for you. We just have to troubleshoot and see what went wrong and how to fix it. But with all of that in the past, thank you for participating and have a great rest of day as well. And thank you, Lars, for flying up all the way from Copenhagen for this.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you.
Bye.